Welcome back to the next video in the series where I am converting a Legion of the Damned force. And here's one that I've already almost done, which is a Chaplain. So as you can see, it's a second edition Chaplain with the Crozius Arcanum here, and I've given him a custom right arm with chainsword, because the thing with Crozius Arcanums is they are power swords, but they can't parry. So I've given him a chainsword for that ability. And then he's got the Dark Vengeance backpack again with the skull on the back. Other than that, with his custom base, he's pretty much ready to go. But the main part of today's video is the new captain. As you saw from the last one, I've repurposed the original captain I had into a sergeant for the assault squad, because I dropped lucky with an eBay auction and got this chap, who is a very modern model, who I believe is a Chaos Dark Apostle. And I saw this with all the flames and skulls, and I thought, yes, he's the lad. So I want to be putting him on a standard 25mm round base to fit the rest of the second edition stuff, and in doing so, it doesn't fit because he's got a bit moulded to his foot to start with, which is actually stood on a pile of skulls. So I'm going to remove this pile of skulls from his foot and then put his foot on the existing pile of skulls on the base, like thus. And then the idea is to swap his head and swap his arms. And then we'll see how he looks from there. Yes, he's going to be a bit out of scale and a little bit tall for modern. Sorry, for the older version of 40k that I'm intending these to be used in. But I figured heroes, champions, characters, etc. should be a little bit bigger anyway. So if you're going to have anything bigger and better, it's going to be characters, isn't it? So here goes with the removal of the skulls from the bottom of the foot. So straight away I've noticed that it's not going to be easy enough to get the clippers on here. So I'm going to make an incision with my craft knife first. That gives you something to get a little bit of purchase on the snip with. So now I've got a bit of a line all the way around, I can now attempt to snip it off with the clippers. And the danger I've got to be is just here, look, if I put too much pressure on it, it's going to cause the foot itself to snap. So that's why I then switched to the hacksaw. Now normally I'd reserve this purely for metal models, but in instances like this where you need to be having precision over strength in the form of the clippers, they can sometimes be handy. You see how now I've made that a little bit deeper. And now I shall apply a bit of pressure with the blade. Because I think the cutting action is going to be more appropriate for this than the blunt force trauma, essentially, of the clippers. We're not trying to chop it, we're trying to slice it to preserve the foot of the model. It's going in, look, and halfway down already. A bit more pressure with the slicing motion. There we go. It's off and foot preserved. Yay. Just gotta neaten it up a bit. There we go. So the idea is when it's stood on the base, he's going to be stood on the skulls for the same pose as that before, but crucially fits on the base now. Now he has got two arms, you can see. One's holding some form of staff or rod, and the other one is holding aloft a burning book. Now what I want to do is I want to give him the same combination as the other guy that I had, which was chainsword and power fist. So the first thing I've got here is a power fist. Now specifically this is an old fist from a Warhammer Fantasy model, I believe. I think it's a Chaos Hero of some description. And I just think it looks pretty cool. And again, aesthetically fitting for the Legion of the Damned. It's not a full-on proper power fist, but it's a fist. It looks pretty powerful. So I think it does the job nicely. So I'm going to give it a quick clean up of the old mould lines. And if you can see, look, it's got a hand already on it. So I want to cut this at the wrist, just here. So then I can put this on top of it, with it being a left hand. So that's where I'm going for it. I'm going for the incision just here. And again, going for the slice of the craft knife as opposed to the cut of the clippers. That's clean cut now and slice. So now I'm just going to neaten it up. Notice how I have to do it at an angle though. So if I was to put the fist on there, it's going to be an angle, and specifically a backwards angle. So his wrist's going to be bent back like that. It's not what I want. So I'm just going to neaten this up. A bit of the flashing from the flames of the book was also on there. Just got rid of that. There we go. That's pretty much flat now, but I'm just going to use a file to get a really snug fit. So that will go on there like so. Now before I add this, I'm going to do the work on the other arm as well. I have a chainsword with a hand already in place. So I've been contemplating removing the hand from the chainsword and salvaging the hand here, chopping the rod off each side of the hand, and assembling the chainsawed handle around the existing hand, but I think it's going to be far more of a faff than just simply chopping off the hand at the wrist again and then simply gluing on the hand, the existing hand from the chainsaw. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to attempt to cut it off here at the wrist and then crucially get rid of the rod here. That's down the side of this wrist guard / van brace that's here. So once again, I'm going for a slicing motion here. But I'm not too fussed about salvaging the rod because I'm going to be having to damage it here anyway. So I'm just going to make a incision all the way around, and then I'm going to go for the trusty clippers on this one. There we go. We'll see what happens here. As long as the arm remains intact, that's all I'm bothered about really. So there we go, that's that bit off. And then I cut there with the craft knife. And the bottom end of the staff appears to actually be moulded onto a thigh here, look. So you need to cut that off as well. I'm trying to be careful so that I don't knock the tabard off that he's wearing. These bits here, I want to keep these on. But there we go, it's off. So again, just like I did on the left wrist, I need to make a nice clean cut here on the right wrist. And then sand it down again to get a nice flush fit. And then the final thing that I want to do to this guy is a head swap for this lovely flaming skull head. So there's no way to do this delicately. There's going to have to be clippers and a snip of the head. But I'm hoping that this was a separate head that was glued on. So I'm hoping to just twist and pull it off rather than it having to be snipped off and decapitated. We'll see. Get in nice and low. Apply a little bit of pressure to grip it and then try to twist it. There we go. I suspected it's twisted off rather than having to worry around and snap it off at the neckline. So you ever see there, look, you can see the molten plastic as the plastic glue's done its job. Give it a little bit of a clean up. And there we go. So I'm going to try and do all these at the same time, so get them all on the same video for you. So to speed things up a bit and also to assist things, I'm going to start with the base, because obviously if he's not stuck to his base he ain't going anywhere, is he? Let's get him on the right pose. There we go. Now again, there are those of you out there who may wish to pin things like this, and I'm very much the opinion that I'll give it a go without pinning first, and if it breaks, I'll glue it again. If it breaks a second time, then I'll pin it. Now in this instance, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use some of this activator. Little spray on the feet. And then boom. For those of you who are not familiar with activator, it's wonderful stuff. You spray the activator onto one surface, and then you put the super glue on the other surface, and then when you put the two together, it forms an instant bond. Voila. Enables you to use thicker glue to set it quicker still. That being said, let's see how we're going to fit the head on. It's going to go on there, just not quite sure which way I want it to face, so I'll come back to the head last. So we'll do the arms next. So again, a little bit of accelerator on the wrists, and then a dab of super glue on the hands. And then we can put them straight on.
How do I stop it?
That's one. Oops, that's power fist on. And now the chain sword. Now I'm not sure whether to have this sword down here or up in the air. Well, so the accelerators worked very well, too well in fact. It's attached the hand to the wrist, and then as I've gone to turn it, it's actually snapped it off the off the housing of the weapon. So let's rectify that now. Remedy it. And this is why you should always dry fit your models first, so you know what's going to go where, so you don't end up changing your mind and potentially breaking them. I'm looking at this joint here, I might have to pin it, look. Now I need to put the chainsaw back on. we go. Far happy with that angling of that now. Certainly looks more second edition-y as well, with that style of pose. Now then, question is, how do I want this head to go? Do I have it looking straight forward? Do I have it angled to either side? Looking at it, I quite like the idea of him looking up. It's to the left there, look, but it does therefore make him look a little bit like Abe Simpson shaking his fist at clouds. So I'm going to have a play around with this. Rather than using the accelerator, I'm going to put the super glue in and use those crucial few bonding seconds to mess around with it and see how it looks. Alright, now you can't see the bottom of the skull, so I'm not fond of it like that. Won't really fit that way because of the flames. So that's looking like the way it's going to have to go. So that looks quite good. It looks as though he's potentially trying to inspire his comrades with a yell. And potentially ho ho ho. There we go. So there we go. One Legion of the Damned captain with power fist and chainsword. So he's going to be very unique in this army because he's essentially completely kit bashed. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. More flames and skulls for Legion of the Damned, and I quite like this take on a power fist. You look at it from behind, it looks rather meaty. In fact, I might paint it up in a style of Thanos' gauntlet with the Infinity Stones, looking at that. And he's got his trusty bolt pistol slapped to his thigh. Cool. Join me next time where I will hopefully be doing a very different version of Sergeant Centurious, because there's no way I'm paying prices for those in 2026. Thank you for joining me. Please, as always, put some comments down below. I want to hear what the rest of the community is thinking to my project. Thank you.